Great leaders aren't born and they're not made either. They're constantly in the making. Why is it so important? And what does it take to be a leader who's constantly growing and evolving? My name is Damon Lembi, and I'm the CEO of Learn It and the co-host of Learn It All podcast. Today, we're going to flip the script. Darren Bridget, my co-host, is going to interview me on the 1-year anniversary of my book, The Learn It All Leader. I'm going to share with you my journey, starting off with playing college baseball and moving into a leadership role and running Learn It for the past 29 years. Learn It is a live learning platform that has helped upskill 2 million individuals. During our conversation, some of the key topics we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about overcoming imposter syndrome. I'm going to share with you my personal story and what I did to be able to help overcome self-doubt and imposter syndrome. We're also going to get into storytelling. I believe that great leaders are great storytellers. And the reason why it's important is because stories help inspire and connect. They help inspire and connect your team and motivate them to do the best they can do. We're also going to get into the importance of feedback. Feedback is critical. It's absolutely important that you're able to give your team feedback, but even more important, that your team feels comfortable sharing feedback they have on you. Because if they do, and you create a safe space for them, that's a tremendous learning opportunity for you. And I share some tips that I've used over the years to help create a safe space for my team to share feedback with me. Finally, we get into building trust. Trust is the cornerstone for all leaders. If you don't have trust, you're going to have a hard time delegating, scaling, and most importantly, I think, you're not going to be able to develop the type of culture you want for your organization. So let's get started. Stick around, join Darren and I as we help you continue on your journey of growth and becoming a great Learn It All leader.
Hello and welcome to the Learn It All podcast. I am Darren Bridget, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. You've probably seen him on these shows before. He is my co-host and partner in crime, Damon Lembi. Damon, thanks for being here today.
Darren, always a pleasure.
So we're flipping the script today, and I'm interviewing Damon. The reason we're doing that is because it's the about 1-year anniversary of Damon's book, the best-selling book, The Learn It All Leader. So first off, Damon, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
As we go through this today, I think it's to be an opportunity for our listeners to learn a little bit about what happens when you challenge yourself to try something really new. And we're learning from a learning expert here in Damon in terms of that process, what he's learned since publishing this book, and just kind of the whole process of getting out there in the world and trying some new things like writing a book. So there you go. Are you excited, Damon?
I'm excited. Let's do it.
I'm going to ask you the toughest question I got right off the bat. No, this is not a tough question, but I'm very curious because it was a little.
...2023. And at that point, I was going to give it to my mom as a present and to surprise her. I missed that. I missed that by about 8 months. And the other reason why I didn't tell anybody I was writing a book really was because I had a lot of imposter syndrome going into it. And there are certain points where I just wanted to flat out quit and not do it. And I was afraid that maybe people would think it was terrible. And so I didn't want to go out and share with the world that I was doing something and then have to reverse it. So that was really the reason why I didn't share it with anybody. And my inspiration for writing the book was a couple of things. One, my wife, Kara, was fantastic. She really encouraged me to do it. You know, she said, you're a great storyteller. Get out there and share with the world all that you've experienced through your baseball career as well as, your time at Learn It. Number two, Darren, as you know, I'm incredibly proud of the team we've built at Learn It and what we've done and how we've helped upskill over 2 million people over these years. And so I wanted to be able to tell those stories and weave in a lot of our employees, from Carly Lutz to Joe Patty to Delete Lewis, Evans, Matt, everybody. And number three, I think my story is a little unique in the sense that, I didn't get an MBA. I didn't have a bunch of different jobs. What I did have is I played college baseball to a pretty high level, and I played for 3 Hall of Fame baseball coaches. And I wanted to share my experience of what I learned from playing baseball and playing from these men, so that other athletes or people in my position would realize that those kind of skills are transferable and you can really have a great impact. So those were my 3 reasons really for writing the book.
I think it's kind of fascinating that first off, nice job. I think it's kind of fascinating that you had a little bit of imposter syndrome while you were writing it, and so but you did let people know, because often the advice is you got to let people know or you won't do something, but you didn't let everybody know, which I think is a smart way. You still have some accountability with people close to you and accountability for yourself. But you're writing a book a bit about imposter syndrome, experiencing imposter syndrome while you're writing it. Did writing the book help you overcome some of those feelings of imposter syndrome?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I didn't realize that came out afterwards is how many people deal with imposter syndrome. I would say, without a doubt, the number one thing that people come to me after writing my book, they're saying, I really resonate with what you talked about, imposter syndrome. Can you talk me through your 3-step framework on it? And so it was great. And I love the fact, Darren, that people would open up to me about their imposter syndrome. Now, to take it a step back, yes, I did tell, my wife knew, and I used some tips on what I learned about giving and receiving feedback as well. What I did was I took there's a gentleman on our team named Nick Silverthorne, who was like my avatar for the type of person that I thought would best benefit from reading my book. Somebody relatively early in their career, who had a learning growth mindset and, wants to evolve in their career, whether it's in leadership or, just continue to be really successful. And what I did was I would share a section of my book with him, and I would say, "Hey, Nick," and I'm his boss, right? And I would say, "Nick, here's this chapter. Can you read this for me? And by the way, I don't think this part is great." So I tried to open up and allow him the opportunity to give me constructive feedback. And that was super helpful, because at that point, then he'd be like, "Yeah, I like what you're saying here, but you need to explain this better, or, go in this direction, make it more practical." So that was a huge help for me.
I like that. That's key, because your boss comes to you, here's this book that I'm writing, and you're feeling like, well, I better say it's great. So you actually made sure that Nick felt safe giving you some actual feedback on it.
Absolutely. Because I think whether it's writing a book, whether it's leading a team, whatever it is, you can't do it in a silo. I think it's really important to be able to have an open mind and get diverse opinions and hear what people have to say. Now, you don't have to take everybody's opinion.
Fast forward a little bit to now. You've got the book, you've published it, and since then, just to put this into perspective, You've been invited to do speaking engagements. I think you've done over like 100 podcasts because you've been invited because of the book. It's a bestseller. Um, did this were you surprised by the reaction to the book? And even just what was it like to publish it? Because now it's like you can't control it anymore. The words are out there, the book is out there. Like, what if people don't like it? But of course, it turns out seems like people liked it pretty well.
Yeah, my original goal was just to get it out there and not do anything. I didn't sign up for any marketing package. I wasn't planning on anything. I just was going to put it out there, and then hopefully it would just go away. Because again, I wasn't sure what people would think. But then I get out of my comfort zone and add value and share my ideas as a leader, both on a big stage and through podcasting. First as a guest, and now I love doing our show together with you.
Yeah, it's fun. So I think a lot of people don't know this about you, and it's really hearing your story right now. It just seems it really stands out. First off, you write this book that you're not really comfortable doing, but you push yourself through doing it, and you take feedback along the way, and you get a lot of input. And I know you people like kind of helping you with editing and working on the whole thing. So you're putting yourself in the line of fire there. And then the book is published. And instead of just sitting back and going, hey, everybody liked my book, you continue to put yourself in positions that are kind of uncomfortable for you because you're not naturally the person who wants to be, you know, in front of the audience speaking.
Not at all.
What is it with you? What is it with you pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations over and over again? Is this like what's going on here?
Well, it's funny because you say putting yourself out there uncomfortable speaking. I think my wife and my brother especially would laugh and say, "Are you kidding? Damon's the biggest extrovert out there." I kind of feel like I'm an introvert to a sense in certain situations, uh, but I'm 51 years old. I run a learning company, and one of the ways that I've been able to really enjoyed what I do at Learn It over these years is to continue to reinvent Learn It in a way, but also to reinvent myself and always continuing to challenge yourself and put yourself out there. And that's kind of like why I did it is because I want to keep evolving and growing. And it's like that Gandhi quote that I'm probably going to butcher, but it's in the back of my book. Live like today's your last day and learn like you're going to live forever, right? So even at 51, there's still plenty of time for me to get out there to keep learning and growing. And I want to do that for our team. I want to do it for my wife, but I also want to do it for my kids. Lucy and Wally. I want Lucy and Wally to look at their dad as somebody who's always constantly looking to get better, better, and better.
Yeah. You still got that fire.
Still got that fire.
Still got the fire. So, Damon, it's been a year, a little over a year since you published the book. And first off, I think it's really important that, especially as a leader of an organization, you do people, these days people need to know who you are, what you stand for, what you care about. In a lot of ways, this book was your opportunity to do that, take a position. But it doesn't mean that maybe you feel like some things weren't explained as well as you thought, or that you haven't even learned since this book came out. Is there anything in the book that you wish you could go back and maybe change a little bit, or have your ideas evolved around any of the things that you've written in the book?
That's a great question.
And you could say no, you say
Putting your trust in them and going into relationships open instead of guarded. I would have liked to elaborate a little bit more on a professional side around the trust tax, especially around delegating and scaling, because that's a question I get a lot. People will say, "Well, you have these examples of things that didn't work out. Can you give us examples of how you felt more comfortable delegating?" So that's one area. I would have also liked to, like, going into this again, I didn't really think that much about the athlete perspective, about identity. One of the big things about it afterwards was, okay, my first 22 years of my life, I thought of myself as a baseball player, and that was it. And then, my baseball career ended. I pivoted over to learn it, and I didn't realize that these skills were transferable, and that's something that's really sprouted out of this book is helping athletes, and not just athletes, but people who maybe were accountants and lost their job and they wanted to follow their passion into something like, I don't know, being a teacher or in sales. I wish I would have elaborated more on how that the skills that you build throughout your career can be transferable, and you need to have the confidence to realize that and go for whatever your dreams are.
nice. So, maybe a little bit more professional, practical advice in some sections, particularly around the trust tax. And it's surprising the reaction sometimes, right? Like there was a lot of interest around the athlete side, and of course, a lot of people really want to hear your baseball stories and things like. I still like hearing your baseball stories.
It's funny. I was just thinking about the trust tax. I had people ask me about the trust. I had federal judges to baseball coaches say, "Hey, I've dealt with trust issues, with my clerks to people on our team." It's just really fascinating how people resonated with it and hearing their stories around trust, because I think trust is something that's so important when it comes to leadership.
Yeah. So, since the book, you've done a bunch of podcasts, you had some speaking engagements and things like that. Any unusual experiences out there on the road? Or I know you had book signings and thing you've done too. What's it been like to be out there, sharing your ideas and any stories from the road? Any stories from the road that you feel comfortable sharing, I should qualify.
That's funny. I would say that it's been exciting, and I've had an opportunity to do a talk at the Naval Academy for a large a group of fire chiefs, senior level fire chiefs, and that was an incredible experience. As well as do a talk out. I got my shirt on, my Atlanta Braves shirt, in
right? How is Nick doing now? And what would Nick say is the helpful parts of this book, or maybe even just like what would Nick say is like the helpful thing to be paying attention to? What do you want your target audience to be thinking about?
I think the world is going and around AI and how to leverage AI, not to replace humans, but how to leverage AI and, get better and better. And I think that that's something that we're doing at Learn It as an organization. And it's the mindset that I've shown, that Nick's shown, that you've shown, just like that video you made for me the other day about the habit coach. It's like, I think that it's a great example of the learn it all mentality, where it's like we have to keep learning and have to keep evolving, and you have to have learning agility, because the pace that things are evolving these days with artificial intelligence, AI, it's incredible. So that's really, I think, one of the biggest takeaways that hopefully when people read my book and the target audience is that let's just keep learning and evolving, and especially around what's happening in the world with AI.
Keep learning, keep growing. Reminds me of that, still got the fire kind of thing we were saying at the beginning. How do you help people? Because sometimes I just want to park on the couch in front of the TV with a bowl of ice
So
cream
do
and
I.
stay there for like 2 days. Well, how do you keep moving forwards with such motivation?
I keep moving forward with such motivation because I look at the team we have at Learn It. Let's say we have 50, 60 people at Learn It, and I look at my own family, and I feel a lot of responsibility. I feel the responsibility to make sure that Learn It is always relevant, and not just for our team, Darren, and my family, but also for our customers. That we're aligning what our product and services are with what they need to be able to meet their challenges or their skill gaps or their goals. And so that a lot of times that's what motivates me. Is that I don't want Learn It to be leapfrogged by other organizations, and I don't want to let our team members or our customers down. So I take it upon, I think a lot of times I take it upon myself and hold myself accountable to really do my share to keep learning and growing. And that's also really important just for our culture at Learn It, right? Because how can we get out there and
Is to keep learning. And that makes perfect sense, especially like in a work environment where you work with a bunch of other people. If you have that learning mentality, that's how you create a better culture together, how you get over issues, that might, and conflicts that might surface. That's the attitude you learn for other people.
I like what you said there.
Tell everybody. So when your siblings finally saw the book and your mom, how did they react?
Well, I could have written my name on a card, handed it to my mom, and she would have cried. you know so I mean, obviously she was beyond excited. My brothers and sisters couldn't believe it, and they're just like, I don't even know if you made it through college, and here you are writing a book. What happened? And what I loved is that when they read it, they're like, wow, this is like sitting down at a dinner table with you talking. And so they were incredibly proud, and it made me feel really, really, really good.
Yeah. I think this is one of the reasons the book has been so successful. And I really had that sense, honestly, when I read it too. I felt, well, this is great, and a lot of people are going to appreciate this. And I was glad that I really wanted you to get out there and start promoting this. Um, but I think a lot of why it works is the storytelling. There's just a lot of great stories in it. And now, of course, that you've been doing all these podcasts and get up on stages, because you don't really talk about storytelling in the book, but you display a lot of good storytelling. So, how important is being a good storyteller to somebody like Nick or aspiring leaders?
Well, I learned how to be. I wouldn't say I'm not as great of a storyteller as you are. I think I'm a pretty good storyteller, and I learned it from my dad. Really, he was a great, great storyteller. I think it's critical and I'm getting better at storytelling. But I think it is for leaders. I think it's critical to be a great storyteller, because that's how whether it's your team or your customers or your family, that's how they'll resonate and they'll understand the concepts that you're trying to share with them. If you give them some technical model on whether it's on how to give better feedback or listening or whatever it is you're going to do, but if you could tie it to a story and they could say, okay, now I understand what you're talking about, right? That's why storytelling is so important. And I've read several books on storytelling, as well as, I'm always picking your brain around it. So I think that's one of those key skills for everybody, is you want to get great at, I think, storytelling, and also another one is decision making.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, interesting you bring that up. Yeah, I'm about to go teach a storytelling class in a couple of
I
hours
have a
here. And
question for you though before we get out.
all
Okay.
right, okay, yeah.
So my question is, since my book came out, Learn It All Leader, how has it impacted your thoughts or changed anything around, our content at Learn It? Has that had any kind of impact at all?
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, you're talking about decision making. This is one of the ways that it's factored into the book. You divided the book into mindset and then behaviors that you can actually take. And the mindset piece, especially the curiosity, has featured its way in everything that we talked about since then. And I'm a big fan of that, because in the way that you like to champion, learning as the path forward, for me, curiosity is such a key piece. It's almost like curiosity is what fuels the learning, the attitude and
Absolutely.
learning that helps you keep moving forwards and get over those kind of obstacles and conflicts with people. And your book opened that door in lots of ways. So for me, that was one of the big pieces. It's also just been because of the stories and the publicity, it makes it easier for us to step into a room and feel like we have a position. Here are the kinds of things that we lead with: humility, curiosity, courage, integrity. Those are your themes, and now we can be known for that, and I can just bake it into everything that we do.
Great. Thank you.
So yeah, it's great. Um, Damon, what's next? Is there a sequel? Actually, you do have another book. I mean, look, you published a book and then you co-authored another book on decision making, which has very practical.
Learning alumni and putting together a follow-up book on how they implement practical or what they've learned from being learn it alls themselves. So maybe a follow-up with real world examples on that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. Damon, as soon as when we first got this idea that I would interview you, and this is the first time we've done this on the Learn All podcast, I was excited for this moment, which I didn't share with you, obviously, that I would be doing. But Damon, on our show, we like to ask a signature question. What is something that people don't know about you, but might be surprised to learn? Something a lot of people maybe just don't know, but might be a little surprising for them to know about you.
I think that one thing that the general public doesn't know about me, my family does, of course, is that I'm a huge fan of Broadway musicals, and sometimes I get teased about that. But I've probably seen Les Mis 25 times, Rent
Oh
20
God,
times. I mean, I love the music, and I took my daughter to see Frozen, and I might get teased about this from my buddies, but on my playlist these days, I've got Fixer Upper from Frozen on there. So
nice,
I'm a big
nice.
music fan, and I also, unbeknownst to most people, a big Broadway musical fan.
Any plans to get on stage in a musical yourself?
Never. Just like I'm a huge music, rock and roll fan. I talk about Axl Rose and the stories and some of those stories, but I have no interest in acting and I have no interest in playing instrument. I just appreciate people like you, who's an actor, and others who've been successful with it.
I appreciate that too. I have no interest in doing musicals myself because nobody should have to pay to hear me sing. All right, Mr. Lemby, where can people get in touch with you?
Well, I think a great place to get in touch with me is right here on the Learn It All podcast. But please follow me on LinkedIn at Damon Lembi or go to the Learn It website. But if you reach out to me on LinkedIn and want a free class, I'll send you a code to a free class.
Ah, nice. Very good. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, Damon. I look forward to doing more of these. For our listeners, as always, if you enjoyed the podcast, we call it a podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe. And until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.